I'm sitting down with the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Doug Collins. Thanks so much for joining us today.
I'm glad to be with you.
Since cuts and reforms began at Veterans Affairs just a few months ago, Democrats have claimed that veterans will lose access to their care. What is your response to these concerns?
Well, that's all I've been doing for a little over 4.5 months now, is fighting lies and innuendo and rumors from the Hill and other parts of the press and saying, that we're destroying everything at the VA. The reality is we're actually helping veterans. We're actually putting the VA back in the proper mode of being a service organization and not a jobs program and not something that's just perennially complained about on the Hill, and we're actually doing some stuff. So look, I've made it clear from day one, no benefits and no health benefits and no disability benefits are being cut. The budget that the president just submitted proves that we're not moving anything. So again, I guess they just have the opinion if they just keep telling a lie long enough, somebody will believe them. So I'll just keep telling the truth that that's not true, and we're making it more efficient. And I'm getting word every day from our veterans who are actually finding better service. They're getting disabilities claims processed quicker. We're 25% down on the backlog, under 200,000. This is the kind of thing that they want and to see, and they're actually responding.
A report says that the Veterans Affairs Office is going to work with the Office of Personnel and Management to do the largest restructuring in Veterans Affairs history. Could you talk a little bit about why that's necessary?
Well, it's necessary. There's professionals to do anything. Government's really good at growing itself. It's not really good at shrinking itself. So sometimes you need those help, and OPM is the guiding agency for the administration across different agencies to help do what we need to do to make sure it's done efficiently, cost effectively, but also right. And again, right now there's still a lot of that up in the air because of court cases and stuff. So we're just waiting to see what we need to do. But we're taking a thorough approach. We're making sure, we promised always that if we look at an organization, that it's going to come from career people, it's going to come from consultants, it's going to come from those folks to show exactly what we need in our organization to make help us fulfill our mission.
What would the benefit be of working with OPM to make those cuts?
I think we always work with them, and I think that's the big thing. This is perspective we've had since we've been here in administration. It's not necessarily a new story. It's something we've been doing, for day one. But they're give guidance. They're career folks who've been a part of how you do reduction force if we come to that. And so we're just making sure that we're making every possible way to make sure the VA is efficient in what it does.
And the report said this would be the largest of all agency staffing reductions under the Trump administration so far. Why do you think that's necessary specifically at Veterans Affairs to have such a large overhaul?
Well, again, this is the part of the innuendo and rumor problem that I've had all along, is they don't know how many we're actually looking at, because guess what? I don't know how many we're still looking at right now because we're still doing the evaluation process. But it makes much better headlines for Democrats and others on the Hill to try to demonize the VA of what we're trying to do to make changes. But in the end, they're just scaring veterans and scaring our employees, which I find offensive. And so we're looking at it. We're the largest. It's also a matter of scale. We're the largest single agency in the administration. DOD is technically larger, but they have all the branches. They got Army, Navy. We're bigger than a standing Army, the active duty Army. So, again, any perspective is going to have to reflect that we're that size.
Do you expect that reducing middle management and some of those unelected bureaucrats will reduce wait times for veterans?
I think it's going to be because we can look at focusing our resources, our money, doctors, nurses, and stuff back into the clinics, back into the hospital. So yes, I think that's something that we can definitely look toward being much more efficient. And also the other thing is not necessarily from a perspective of the clinics, is getting answers to questions much quicker, getting answers to referrals. And we've already started to do that. For best medical interest is what we're using to get people into the community. And if they're having an issue in one of our hospitals and they sort of quote send it up the line, well, it's 10 to 15. It seems to be 15, 20 steps to get to a decision. Well, we're trying to make sure that that's much more streamlined so that our center directors and our hospitals can make decisions much quicker.
Just this week, a mob in LA shut down the office of one of the Veterans Affairs branches in LA. What is your message to California Governor Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass, who let the riots get to that point that veterans' care was impeded?
Yeah, actually, they shut down two. As of this taping, they've shut down two of our offices. And I would just ask the governor and the mayor to actually, be considerate of the Americans who have earned their veteran benefits, who need to get their ambulatory health care, which is a center that's been shut down since day one. The benefits office, which has been shut down as well, is to, they should have looked at this much more in depth and not a political stance of illegals who come into our country, who fly other flags and claim to, be a part of something that, frankly, there's a privilege to be here in this country as a citizen and other things, and to shut down whole city blocks and shut down veterans. You don't tell me that you're really overly concerned about veterans if you're allowing the riots to get to a point where we can't take care of our veterans.
How long do you expect it to take before these veterans will be able to resume care at those centers?
Hopefully, as soon as by the end of the week, we're hoping for it. The president has made a great progress in that. He stepped in even before the California governor or even the mayor, I think while they were still trying to figure out what politically they wanted to do, it seemed like. He stepped in, sent the guard, has Marines on call. I think you're going to start seeing much more efficiency in getting these protesters off. And hopefully, for the ones who don't want to be here, maybe they'll go somewhere else, like back to wherever they came from.
Could you describe the challenge of accomplishing some of these major changes you've made here at the VA, particularly when it comes to helping VA-enrolled veterans access health care from non-VA providers?
Yeah, that's one of our biggest issues. Mission Act was passed when I was actually still in Congress. The president signed it. It's something he's very proud of. And we are as well, because it actually provides what I call a community partnership with our VA health system. So when you look at the two and you see, folks who want to get their care at the VA, and we can do that timely, we can do it faster, we'll do it there. If we can't, or it's in their best medical interest, we'll send them into the community. So for us, it's fulfilling the law. And so many times, especially in the last administration, they chose to ignore the law. In fact, they actually discouraged people from going into the community, which at the end of the day is, why was that? It was about feeding the VA animal itself, so to speak, and that is the organization. And we're supposed to be about the veteran, not our organization. Our organization should be set up to help our veterans, and I think that we're much better off now where we're at.
Why do you think there was some resistance, and is there still resistance to that effort?
There is. It's territorial. It's the organizational in structure that we're the only ones that can do this, and that we grow ourselves. And that's really one of the things you've seen. We've grown our budget in 10 years, even being on the GAO high risk list, hundreds of billions of dollars and over 100,000 employees. But yet the numbers wasn't getting better. Even through COVID, even coming out of COVID, we had a lot more employees, a lot more money, and we're still seeing backlogs, way up. So, and in our hospitals. So this is the kind of thing that says, money and people are not always your answer. It's the structural processes and what you're focused on. And so for us, it's going to be the veteran, and we're starting to see good results from that.
One of those focuses has been reducing suicide rates for veterans.
Yes.
Could you talk a little bit about what you've done to make grounds on that issue?
We're still in the process of that. It's not something that I'm happy with. We're spending over $500 million a year in, quote, preventative programs. We spend about $2.3 billion in treatments and others for folks who are struggling with PTS and TBI and other things that keep them from taking their life or death by suicide. This is an area where we're not reaching at times the right people. The numbers, whether you use 17, 22, whatever the number is, we're missing about half of those in the VA. In other words, they've never had contact with us. So we haven't even had a chance to try and turn them on a different way. So we're looking at new alternative ways, from new media, podcasts. We're going to be partnering with sports organizations, film industry folks, music people, to try and figure out how we can reach those that may be reached on another platform. And if they come to the VA, great, we want to help direct them there, but we're also going to be able to get them to anyone that's willing to sit down and take a look. And there's a lot of great nonprofits, VSOs out there that can help them.
The VA announced a few months ago it's phasing out coverage for transgender procedures. Why do you believe that change was needed?
Well, it's not something we need to be doing. This is a settled sort of issue for most people. It's just something that the following DOD's lead as well. If you're currently in, and what we did was, if you're currently in, still you're receiving treatments, you're going to continue those. We understand the medical issues there, but we're not going to be starting any new ones. And there'll be no gender assignment surgeries done at the VA. That's just not something we're supposed to be doing, I don't think, and I think most of the people understand that.
Do you have a figure about how much money that will save for Texas?
It is predictive going forward. So I mean, you just have to sort of predict what may have been. So for us, it's millions of dollars, probably in the upfront, but we're going to continue that. We're going to make sure. Look, we're going to make sure our veterans have care, and I want to make it very clear: if you are transgender, you're others, and you have earned the benefit as a member, every other benefit is there for you. We're just not going to be a part of the gender reassignments and the dysphoria that's going on. So, and if they say they're receiving any pushback from going to a clinic or hospital, then they just need to call me. I'll walk in with them, because if they've earned the benefit, they earned the benefit.
The VA just announced new grants to address homelessness. Mm-hmm. Could you speak to why that is important?
It's important because we still have about 40,000 homeless veterans in this country on average. Now, we went down. As compared to the overall population, the vet population of homelessness has went down, but 40,000 is still a lot. And so we just had the president signed the Center of Excellence out in L.A., is one of the areas we're dealing with, one of the highest homeless populations for veterans in the country, where we're going to make the West LA campus a place where we can provide the services and issues that they need to get out of the cycle of homelessness, help get the treatments and stuff that they need. Also, just the financial planning to get back. And we're going to have that is going to be one place. But these other grants throughout the country let us address these needs as we're seeing them many times in our southern states, many times in our urban cities. How can we help them get self-sufficient, self-sustaining? We don't want to see any person who served this country not have the ability to find shelter and have permanent shelter.
Under your leadership, do you plan for the VA to partner with nonprofits and non-governmental organizations as well to help veterans?
Yes, you better believe it. There's some out there doing some great work. And I meet with them regularly. I meet with our VSOs. You know, you have the traditional VSOs we have, but I'm also reaching out to nonprofits who really since 9/11 have taken a different role and a more focused and targeted role in certain areas. Some of them deal with housing. Some of them deal with mental health issues. Some of them deal with job and recreation issues. Some deal in special communities like special operators. These are the kind of things that we're going to help with, because if they're helping my veterans and we're part, then they're part of our circuit.
Would you support a bill in Congress that seeks to shrink the VA's role in the community care referral process?
No, because one, they'd have to get rid of the Mission Act. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they want to. They're not going to take on the Mission Act. If anything, there's a lot of feeling in the Congress to expand the Mission Act even more to make sure that the original intent of the Mission Act was fulfilled. We have a partnership with the community care. It's not overtaking the VA. It's not privatizing the VA. It's a partnership that we need, because there are rural healthcare areas, there's rural healthcare needs, there's even urban healthcare needs, where sometimes we can provide the services better and quicker in the VA. But then there's a lot of times that there may be times when the veteran themselves wants to take part in more closer to home in their community, and they get that care quicker. We want to make sure they have every option available.
Do you think that the increased recruitment rates that the military has seen over the past several months could have something to do with changes at the VA? And do you see there being a relationship between better veterans care and more recruitment to the military?
I would hope so. I mean, I think DOD and VA are fraternal twins. We just, we very much do the same kind of a mission with the same people. They do the kinetic mission, we do the aftercare mission, if you would, but it's the same group. And so I think when the parents and grandparents or aunts and uncles who served, they come out, they get a good experience in the VA, they can see that we're fulfilling our promise to them. So when you have the younger generation coming up, they're more apt to say, yeah, it's good, take the initiative, go into the military. Because we've gotten into a point here just in the recent history where you'd have upwards of 40 or 50% of those who served would tell their children not to serve. And it was either issues within DOD or some, quite frankly, others with VA. And so we're seeing that hopefully reversed and that they get the benefits that they've earned.
Is there anything else about your plans for the VA over the next few years that we haven't covered yet that you'd like to add?
I think it's just a system of excellence. I want us to realize that the veteran is our focus of everything we do. And the VA is not about its organizational structure anymore. It's about taking that organizational structure and making it helpful for the veteran so that they can look at it with something proud. They can look at something that they know is there for them. And the benefit they earned is something that they can carry with them.
Thank you so much for having this conversation.
I'm glad to be with you.
Right is still right, even if you stand by yourself.
Mr. Chief Justice, may it please the court.
This is Hans von Spakovsky, host of the Case in Point podcast, which looks at the hottest cases affecting politics, culture, and everyone's daily lives. But we talk about them without confusing legal jargon. And we have interesting guests, like former House Speaker Newt Gingrich. And we end with reviews of classic Hollywood movies relevant to the topic. Case in Point, the podcast available everywhere you won't want to miss.